Hey, Miles here, milesbeckler.com, and in this video, we're gonna talk about the $5 Facebook ads. Now, I've been getting a lot of questions on the channel and in the comments that are like, hey, how much does it really take to get going with Facebook ads? Or how much money do I really have to spend to see results? And the answer, as you can guess by the title of this video, is it all starts with $5 a day if you really want. Now, I'm going to go in depth on how to use this as an advanced tactic. So don't think this is simply a beginner concept for beginners only. Yes, it is a budget-based idea, but I'm going to teach you how to leverage the $5 Facebook ads so you can also kind of advance what you're doing to get better results with what you're already doing, minimizing your risk and kind of increasing the potential for you to see and find new audiences to market to. So the $5 Facebook ad, really that's the starting point, right? If you set up your ad set and you got a campaign going and all you can afford is $5 per day, that is truly enough to begin marketing. How much results are you going to see? That's obviously the question. And what you're essentially doing is saying that my budget is limiting me, therefore I'm willing to be patient in order to see the results. Because if you're getting 10-cent clicks at $5 per day, you're going to expect to see about 50 clicks per day. We assume it takes 1,000 clicks to run a successful split test, and that's 1,000 per variation. So if you're running a split test on your landing page, on your opt-in page, you're going to need to wait to see approximately 2,000 clicks in order to really have statistical significance on which one wins. So what we mean here is you run $5 a day, hopefully you're getting 10-cent or below clicks, and if you are, that's essentially going to take you, well, I don't know, about 10 days, 20 days, 40 days to get your 2,000 clicks. Now, can you make a decision based on statistical data earlier? Sure. If the numbers are incredibly skewed to one side or to one variation and you've got 500 through, you can consider making a decision, but the law of large numbers makes sure that your numbers are reliable. Because if you're not making statistically significant decisions on your split tests, you're potentially making decisions based on the wrong data. So what your trade-off is if you're entering this point with a $5 a day campaign and that's all you can afford is one ad set at $5 a day, your trade-off is patience. You have to simply be patient to get the number of clicks in order to see if something's working. The good news, it's a cup of coffee a day cost, right? The bad news, it's going to take you a few weeks to really get some good data. But if you're putting your first funnel up, your first ad set up, and you just want to dip your toe in the water, start with a $5 ad set. Do not run a split test on your ad side. Run one ad, try to make it a long copy story-based ad. Base it on the ads of people who in your niche have done really well. If you have not yet seen my spying on your competitors' ads, I'll have that video pop up right here so you can check out that video and model the kinds of ads that have worked really well for people in your niche so it has a high likelihood of working for you. Cool. So that's the basic idea, right? You just set up an ad, you got one campaign, one ad set, one ad, $5 a day. You target it based on what we've talked about in the other videos, and you let it run. You want to make sure that you have spent as much as you potentially will earn with one sale from your OTO. Now, I've covered this in the KPIs and the Knowing Your Numbers videos, tiny recap. And I'll use myself as an example. I just launched a new funnel, and at this moment, my average order value is about $60, right? So what I would do at a $5 campaign is I would let that run until I spend at least $60 before I decide whether it's going to work or not, right? Because if I spend $59 in ads and then on that $59.50 click, I see a sale, I'm break even. So if I turn that ad set off at $30 or $40 of spend when I potentially earn $60, I could again be basing a decision on too little information, and I could be shooting myself in the foot because that next sale could be, that first sale could be right around the corner. So that's kind of my monitoring mark, and I keep an eye on my cost per lead beforehand. If you don't know your numbers, I'll pop the Know Your Numbers video up here for you as well, but hopefully you've already seen that and you know what kind of numbers you expect or what kind of numbers you need to see from your campaigns in order to be break even or profitable, because it's all based on data. It's all based on statistics. So if you're just starting out and getting a budget, jump in on the $5 ad. I highly recommend it. It'll get you experience. It'll really minimize the risk. Everyone spends $5 a day on something, whether they need it or not, and this actually has the potential to give you a return on $5 a day, so it's a very worthy kind of use of your time and use of your budget, right? It's an advertising budget. A real business in this world is one who spends money on advertising and turns that into paying customers. So this is the process we need to get to. Now, let's take this a little bit more advanced. I use $5 a day ads also on Facebook, but I mainly focus my $5 ad sets, right, to test new ad sets. So what I've done is, you know, from my kind of previous videos on the audience insight tool, the goal is to come up with 30 different ad sets. If you're just getting going, what you want to do is, if you're able to jump in, you don't have much time, you can cluster all 30 of those ad sets together inside, or all those interests, excuse me, into one ad set, and you can run that with a $30 a day kind of a campaign and then monitor that. But if you want to get really kind of meticulous about it, and if you really want to know which of these different ad sets are outperforming the others based on your cost per lead and your cost per customer or cost per acquisition numbers, this is where you start with the $5 ad sets. And what I do is I'll get my campaigns running, right? So I've got some campaigns running that are tried and true kind of interests. I know these ones work for me, but I'm always trying to expand my audience, right? I always want to grow. Facebook has like 1-point-something billion users, and I'm marketing to maybe a few million. So there's a very large kind of opportunity here for me, but I don't want to go moving big amounts of money. I don't want to go jump in with $100 a day or $200 a day or $50 a day into something that's untested. So what I do is I do my research in that audience insight tool, and I find new ad sets, and I research people, and I'm researching on Amazon and the different places we go to find our competitors, and I'm looking for people who have really strong overlaps with what my niche is and with my audience. And then if I think I have a high likelihood, or there's a good potential of that becoming a new profitable interest for me to market to, I will go duplicate out one of my ad sets. I'll set up a $5 a day ad set and run it to the same ad that I've currently got running that has great media, it's got great engagement, it's got great numbers. I know this ad works, so I'm putting one new variable in place, same funnel, same ad, same everything else, and I'm only spending $5 a day on this. So what it allows me to do is, if I'm going to take and kind of, let's say I want to increase my budget by $50 a day. I'm wanting to scale a little bit, but I don't want to scale into the audiences I have. I want to try to scale into the unknown, into new territory of audiences I have not yet kind of tapped into. What I will do is I'll go find 10 new interests that I feel like have the highest likelihood of creating leads and customers for my business, and then I'll go separate them out and I'll start 10 new ad sets. I'll duplicate them straight out from within my interests campaign that I'm running currently, and then I'm going to duplicate all of those out. I'm going to set up the separate interests in each of them, and I'll point them all right back to that same advertisement. So what this does is it gives me a very effective and a very kind of neat and tidy split test on that interest through the ad set level. Then what I do when I log into my ads is I monitor how are each of these ad sets doing. And I'm able to make very intelligent decisions based on real data in order to say, this ad set's working, this ad set's not. And what happens is, once I've spent about $60 to $80 each, I'm willing to go a little over just because I'm playing the game maybe a little bit more aggressively. And as long as my cost per lead is good, I know that lifetime value for me. So I will spend about $80, which is what, about up to 16 days. So I'll run these for about 2 weeks, a little bit over 2 weeks, kind of monitoring every day on my cost per lead. The KPI I monitor on the daily up until I've spent enough is my cost per lead. If my cost per lead is within my kind of standard operating area, I'm good. I just let them go. Once I've spent 60 or 80, whatever that average customer value is for me, the average new customer value is for me, once I've spent that much, if I have not seen any sort of transactions come through from that ad set, I realize that maybe now's not the time. It just flat out didn't work. I gave it a good try. I remove it. I mark it off of my list, and I keep monitoring the other ones. Once I've gone through that process with these 10 or however many I'm bringing on, I have now added some to my kind of standard campaign. And at that point, I can begin to scale them and increase my ad spend on the ones that are proving to drive customers, right? I don't want to go dump a bunch of money in the untested area. I want to put little bits of money out. If you've ever played roulette, and I don't play roulette, and I don't think roulette is a worthy game of any of our times, but really what I'm trying to, I think it's a good analogy here, because the idea is we're not putting a big stack of chips on one number in the roulette table. What we're trying to do is put one chip on lots and lots of different numbers on that roulette table, so it increases our likelihood of hitting. And when we hit, we won't make as much, but that data is important. And this is where roulette makes a terrible example, because there's no likelihood of it hitting again in roulette, and I get that. So don't flame me in the comments for using the roulette thing, please. But what we're doing now is we spread our money out really thin, and when one thing works, we know that there's a high likelihood it's going to work again, and when the others don't work, well, we've only lost small amounts of money in gathering that data, right? It's all about that minimum viable. And what we're talking about here is really kind of like the minimum viable campaign, or the minimum viable ad set that you can run on Facebook that's going to deliver you results, right? It's got a potential to work. You're just going to have to be patient for a few weeks. And then, so after my cycle is done and this new set of interests that I've just tested are done, some are gone, some stay in and keep running. And what do? I go right back into the Audience Insight tool and I look for more interests that I've never tested before. And I repeat this process, and slowly but surely I'm collecting ad set after ad set that generate customers for me, little by little increasing my spend on the ones that work, little by little letting go of the ones that don't work. I'm never really risking a lot of money. I'm never risking a situation where I'm all in on one thing, right? I'm spreading my wagers out across the night and across the table, if you will. Gotta get off these gambling analogies. I don't know where that came from, but I think you understand what I'm talking about. So as someone who's been running, or if you kind of are trying to go from good to great, and you're like, okay, I've got a few ads working in this area, but man, I can't really reach out in these other sectors very well. Try this approach of the $5 Facebook ad, or the $5 Facebook ad set, and see if you're able to slowly bring in new interests that work for you. And do you have to only do this with interests? Absolutely not. You can also do this with lookalike audiences. You can get really, really granular in your testing at this level. I don't always do this, so just a note, but you can if you have the patience, and if your kind of brain works in that, if you're like a spreadsheet person and you're really analytical and you're data driven and you're able to really, you enjoy digging into the data, this is absolutely for you. Because what you can do is you can test a lookalike Australia versus a lookalike UK versus a lookalike in Canada versus a lookalike in the USA. And you can see, you can get data that will tell you, wow, for my X dollars in, I'm getting the best results from people in this country. Cool. Turn off the ones that don't work, add those budgets to the one that does work slowly. I've covered how to scale in another video, right? Add those to the one that works slowly, and then repeat the process. Go find new interests, go find new lookalikes, go find new retargeting audiences that you have. You can, if you have a SEO-based website, you could retarget people based on what pages or topics they see on your website. You could create a separate audience for people who have read articles about subject A, and then you could create a separate audience for people who read articles about subject B, and you could, again, a $5 ad set, split test those against each other, and you could kind of start to get that statistical data that says, wow, people who read article A or articles about subject A on my website have a much higher likelihood of becoming a customer. Now, this data that you're buying at a low $5 a day cost, $10 a day cost if you have 2 of them running, right? Then you could take that data and see, man, if I can bring more people who are interested in topic A to my website, I would probably be able to get more customers in my door. So what do? You then take that information and you apply it to your content marketing campaign. You make YouTube videos on that topic. You make more blog posts on that topic. You create an ultimate guide. You build a silo around that topic on the organic side. Is this making sense? So you're not able only to just test out on the Facebook world and see what works on Facebook and then do more of that. Obviously, that's what we're talking about. But when you get these data points that really pinpoint the kinds of people, the kinds of topics, the kinds of interests that deliver you customers, you now know how to build out your content marketing. You really start to understand more about maybe the ad copy that you're running, should talk more about this kind of product or topic A versus a broader range, and you really start to get specific with what's working. And then what's the trick to the game? We just do more of what works. Test lots of things, minimize our risk while we're testing, do more of what works, let go of what doesn't work. If it takes you 100 of these over the course of the next few months to find 5 campaigns that you can run every day, day in, day out at $20 a day and be break even on that, guess what? You've literally just stumbled upon that magic recipe that's going to allow you to quickly grow your list, build your audience. Through the lifetime value of those people on your list, you're going to be able to build an actual business, all statistically significant, right? I mean, this is based on big data. It's so powerful when it works. I really want to help you get there. So if you're just starting out, no, there's room for you to start at a $5 a day budget with Facebook advertising. And there's a high likelihood with some patience that you're able to turn that into positive split tests on your opt-in pages. You're going to build your list. You're going to build your customer base. And when you start to see things that work at that $5 a day, inch it up, get it up to $10 a day. If it keeps working for another week at $10 a day, inch it up, try it at $15 a day. If things go out of KPI, right, if your numbers get skewed, you can back it back down to $5 a day if you need to, right? That's the trick to the game. And if you're already running lots of ads and you're like, man, I feel like I've hit my ceiling in my audience, I don't feel like I have any new audiences to tap into, you feel like you're spending as much as you can profitably and you don't know what to do next, implement this. Go find 10 to 30 new interests and run a $5 a day ad set for each of those to an advertisement that you're already running that is proving to work with another audience, right? We don't want to start putting new ads onto these new audiences. We want one variable at that point if you're in that situation, which would be the new audience running to a proven ad that you've already got going. And then, like I said, let them run for as long as it takes until you would reach your average order value. Then make an executive decision. You can monitor in between at the 3, 5, 7 day mark, monitor your cost per lead KPI. If it's way out of whack, if you're used to getting like dollar leads and a new audience is bringing you literally $5 leads, obviously you could turn that off after like day 2 or 3, but the numbers do change a lot on the first few days with small budgets because Facebook has a very little amount of kind of ammunition to work with, so it can take 2, 3, 4 days for them to find you those 50-cent leads, and you might see your cost per lead going from $2 to $1.50 to $1 to 75 cents over the course of a couple of weeks. And this is all back to that same idea of make your decisions based on statistics that have significance, right? If we don't have a big enough sample size, then we don't actually have enough data to make a good decision, and we can potentially turn off ad sets prematurely. I generally err on the side of running things a little bit longer than I should, just because I've seen an ad that doesn't work, an ad set that doesn't work, and all of a sudden, day 9, 2 sales pop in, completely changes all of my KPIs. Now it's within metric, and had I turned it off at day 7, I would never have seen those 2 sales, and now that's a profitable ad set for me and a profitable ad for me moving forward. So that's why I really kind of harp on that statistical significance idea. So this is it. That's the $5 Facebook ad game. It's a great way to start. It's a great way to grow if you've already started. It takes patience. We need to be tracking what we're doing. We need to be tracking what's working. Let's keep adding functional ad sets that work to our campaigns, and let's eliminate those that aren't working. So we're focusing 80 to 90% of our marketing budget on the ones that have proven to work, and then we'll focus that 20, 10 extra percent on testing new ones that might get moved into the ones that work for us. That's the game. That's how I'm moving forward at this point. I hope you enjoyed it. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. I do appreciate it. I appreciate your time. My only goal here is honestly to help you get your business going from the ground up. That's why I make these videos. And if you give me a thumbs up, if you share the video, if you leave me a comment, if you subscribe, that's your way of showing appreciation. And I do appreciate it because I do appreciate you. I'm going to pop up a video here and here. Maybe something you'd be interested. I don't know, maybe, maybe not. And then click subscribe. Would that be down here? I think that subscribe head would be down there. I'm done. Thank you. Have a good one, and I'll see you on the next video. Be well.